morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Augustine.
I'm I'm only seeing usual suspects this morning. It's pretty impressive. There's an impressive list of people who just can't get enough. This is great.
It's called addiction, isn't
it? For me, the trick has always been trying to find it's like, there's, I think there's a little bit of an addiction problem in my lineage. It's in my genes probably. So it's been trying to find the right addictions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Supposedly moderation is a good thing. It's just not my thing. All right. Good morning, Alonso. Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. February 5th, 2021. Happy Friday. Good morning to Alonso and good evening to the rest of you. It's nice to see a bunch of familiar faces. Speaking of seeing faces, yep. No pressure, but if you don't turn on your webcam, I'm gonna be offended. All of you. Oh, nice. Okay. Wow, that worked. That was good. Oh, very good. All right. That's all right. Okay, it's happening. Okay, look at that. We got the momentum going. We got the. This is a record. I think this is. Okay. Okay. We've got.
Your PC is gonna crash any momently.
Yeah, that's right. We've still, we've got a couple of holdouts. We got, they're shy. They're shy. But if you just start to call them out by name, they'll slowly reach for that webcam button. Abhishek is he's quiet. He's quiet. He doesn't like to turn on his webcam. we'll just hold up the whole. We'll just wait for Abhishek. We'll just.
Oh yes. All right.
Thanks. Okay. All right. Good. Wonderful. We get all of Lee's bad jokes out of the way up front, and we're good for another 50 minutes. So a lot of things going on. A lot of things going on. Some really exciting things. There's a number of people, number of you here. I say people, and then I'm talking to you. That I think it was like twice this week. I think it was once last week, once this week. I just about came out of my seat. Some of the things that a few of you are doing, like, they're really impressive. And then there's a number of things the rest of you are doing that are that don't make me come out of my seat, but certainly make me smile. Anyway, I'm hoping that it's making each of you smile as well. So since I have the mic here, I get to talk about how it makes me feel, but in a lot of respects, that's sort of inconsequential. Okay, well, hey, I'll be your host today. We're going to go through kind of some usual announcements, and we're going to get into some topics and hear from everyone else. If you're on the call and don't have your name in this list, that means that you're actually that it doesn't count, that you're not on the call. So give yourself credit, slap your name in there. Oh, we've got a few newcomers that have joined since last time that we had our community call, and I ran out of time to write all of their names down. Is anyone a newcomer on the call today? I can confirm that no, none of you are. Good. That's either, I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah, anyway. Good. That means we can dispense with any formalities about any formalities and get into it, which is first up is that we've got a couple of individuals who've been in the community for a long time. And I know that all of you know these two individuals, Mr. Jain and Miss Chandra, both of whom essentially graduated this week, if you will. So I'll say a few words about that, I think. One is I'll talk about how cool each of them look inside of their contributor card. So they're looking pretty hip. Two, Anirudh, every time I look into I think that's a refrigerator behind you, but I gotta say, like at first glance, every time it looks like you're sitting in a server room. It looks like a server rack behind you, which is just, it just looks like you've got horsepower just hanging out back there. So anyway, Anirudh just, well, like almost to the day, has hit a successful 4 months of moving around a couple of different components within Meshry overall. I'm pausing for a moment just because, Anirudh, you've been around so long. I'm trying to remember if, so it was kind of a headlong focus, mesh map oriented things, some Kubernetes centric things, getting into Kube client, the Kube Go client, getting into a little bit of something that we're still yet hopeful for. I don't know that it's really been discussed more broadly. Not that it's a secret, but Anirudh, you want to say a word about, well, the in-browser terminal, part of what you'd been, not the logs, but the other one, the interactive.
Yeah, sure. So initially, or at least during my second month of internship, I was looking into how we could create an entire interface on how you could control every aspect of a service mesh, including its containers and pods through the CLI, the integrated CLI that we could have in on the UI's end. There are a few examples here, or you could say even Docker dashboard, Kubernetes dashboard. These have that feature, which we can, if you're able to replicate that, you would be able to control the mesh as well as control the entire Kubernetes infrastructure. So that was the initial plan.
And it's and still it's still there. It's still the since we're digressing and talking about this particular feature, which hopefully everyone has a sense of, if you pull up Meshry UI, if you go to manage a mesh, manage a service, that the concept being that you'd be able to shell into it, be able to open a terminal in your browser and be sitting inside that container, be able to take a look at, and that we would provide kind of convenient tools for taking a look at Envoy logs, Kubernetes logs, doing service mesh centric things. A lot of times people are trying to troubleshoot what's going on with why they think they've got the mesh configured to allow traffic to go here or to redirect there, and why it's not happening. And so some of the troubleshooting procedures involve getting, going inside, getting hands-on inside the proxy. one, I'll say this and let people ponder it and reflect on it, is that one potentially negative aspect to facilitating such a connection, facilitating people shelling in or execing into or shelling into their container, is that in a production environment, that type of behavior, that type of activity encourages, well, ad hoc systems management, or it facilitates for not necessarily treating your infrastructure as code. So sort of non-GitOps things, meaning someone might go do some troubleshooting in prod trying to fix an issue, they correct it, and whatever that correction is, or whatever the thing that they did is a one-off, and the next, and then they're not controlling their infrastructure, declaratively, potentially, right? And we're not. So I'll stop there. It's just food. There's I think we have an answer to that. I talked about it in the past. So anyway, turns out that wasn't really the focus of Anirudh's internship. I don't know why we're talking about it this long. Anyway, most of you have been familiar with how Anirudh has been focusing on Meshry CTL and encouraging others to get involved, bringing forth a new command, context. Boy, we've talked about context a lot, and a very necessary and needed thing. And it's arriving, it's in process. So, which means that Anirudh, you're still on the hook. Cool, good. And then everyone's familiar with Shriti Chandra as well. I don't know that she's on today, but she is culminating her time as a community manager. And so she's physically moving back to school, doing some exams these last couple of weeks. And if memory serves, I think this is she's got quite a few more years of school left, so she's taking some good experiences with her. I think she said that her intention is to hang out and do some contributions in the community. So we'll see. We can only hope. Kudos, good job. Nice work on here. An indelible mark, or some of the things you've done can't be taken away, or just like that. It's kind of a permanent handprint in the sidewalk cement of Meshry. So it's pretty cool. Okay, well, I guess that's all the announcements. Let's get into our first topic. Mr. Patel, are you with us?
Yep.
SMI conformance.
Oh. More accurately, persisting the results which you have for SMI conformance in the cloud. That's what I'm going to show. So I have my local cloud running. Let me just log in once.
So we've had the ability, Meshry's had the ability to verify whether or not a service mesh is adhering to service mesh interface specifications, whether or not a service mesh, there's like 6 to 8 of them. I think that claim compatibility with SMI specifications. And most of you are aware that Meshry there's functionality having been built into Meshry to perform tests, conformance tests that just assert a given condition that the assert that a given service mesh should respond in a way compatible with SMI specifications. And while that's been worked on for some time, what hasn't landed just yet is the support for persisting the test results of those conformance tests, and then allowing users to turn off Meshry, come back, sign back in, and retrieve those persisted results. So
For some reason, I'm not able to log in the local provider which I have. Can I shift this? I need to debug.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is happening.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can come back. One thing you might try briefly, I don't know, that is a private browsing window. I don't. It looks like it might be getting stuck redirecting.
Yeah, let me try that. Sorry about this, I guess. I did try the private window before the
Oh, okay.
when you were
Okay.
speaking about Meshu. So
Gotcha.
something
All right,
else
cool.
is-
We'll circle back. Good deal. All right, back. So our next topic is, well, one, just to embarrass Kishore, who just joined. Is his audio on? Yep, Kishore. Good to see you again. Good, good, good. Okay. Next topic, Mr. Kumar, are we on this today, or is this a next week thing?
It's not fully done yet, just the UI part. So yeah, so I can demo with the GraphQL playground that we have right now with queries,
Okay.
if that's okay. So, or
Maybe
else we can.
Yeah, maybe we'll save it for effect, or for like a complete,
Sure. Yeah.
for everyone's complete understanding. I think, which is good. Like the thing that we want to, that hopefully everyone will take away is that what is that Meshry V050 extensibility has been a big feature theme in this upcoming release, and people can take advantage of that extensibility in a couple different ways. And so this particular demo is that particular piece of work that Abhishek will show next week is impressive in terms of how to dynamically insert new Golang capabilities on the fly, as well as React based capabilities on the fly. So, all right. Next up is a topic from Ruth. Ruth, I know your battery was low a minute ago. Are you back? Okay. She must not be, because, yep, no, she's not. All right, so good. So we'll circle back to Ruth. All right, this is strike three. We might be out at this point. Okay, next topic is Vinayak. Vinayak, do you want to, I think 3 strikes being out, I'm losing my train of thought. Vinayak is going to talk about Get Nighthawk. We talked about Get Nighthawk as a project a few times now. I know that my hunch is that many of us aren't necessarily quite clear on all of what is sort of involved in Get Nighthawk. And we're not going to go over that now because some of us are really clear on it, and I don't want to bore everybody. There's a link to the project description and its goals and its vision. Vinayak is stepping up to steward and lead the implementation of the project site. So Vinayak, do you want to talk
Sure.
about this a bit?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
So basically, we have recently started with the development of a new Jekyll-based website, which is Get Nighthawk, and the current version of this website is available at getnighthawk.dev, and all the possible goals of this website would be probably covered in a single page, and uh, the Google Doc contains all the details about this project, and if like we go to the ninth page, we have like divided the whole website into few different sections, and I've left a square bracket in front of the section which can be worked on by any of the contributors. So it is open for contributions, and the subsections which are marked with the orange color are currently waiting for a design implementation. We have a Figma design mockup for the website, which you can refer to while you're working on a particular section. Also, the project has been initialized with the theme of Meshri.io, and we will be using it as a starting point.
Good. Of the picture says 1,000 words, I guess. So of the mockups that are here and linked to those mockups, this is the same Figma project that the Layer5 NG site is being designed in, as well as a few other things. Everyone should be able to get to the link just anonymously. If you'd like to make comments, or if you'd like to, click and drag and move some things around, just signal. So yep, that's Figma. To reinforce what Vinayak had said is that, well, it is to just briefly describe the fact that as stated, this particular project is relatively concise in nature, like the vision and the goals. It's to create some distributions of the load balancer, the load generator Nighthawk, and make it easy for people to get Nighthawk, hence the name. Nighthawk as a project, it doesn't have its own website, or docs. And so in a lot of respects, this will probably become kind of the Nighthawk project page. There are a number of related performance related initiatives around Nighthawk service mesh performance, the SMP spec.io, and get Nighthawk, and they all kind of, and Meshry itself, and they all kind of tie together. I expect it's probably confusing how they tie together for many. I gotta tell you, or trust me when I say, when you do see some of it come together, you'll have to hold on to your hair. That yeah, there'll be well, finally, and probably for the first time, a little bit of data science coming through here, which will be nice. And we're gonna go grab some PhDs other than Michael. We need to get it piled higher and deeper, I think, here in the community. And I'm just trying to embarrass everyone that I can today. So anyway, point is sorry to be long-winded. Anyway, point was, Vinayak is, so Austin has done the designs. They're looking fantastic. Vinayak has stepped forward significantly to help just get this site implemented. Pratya Banerjee, Neil was going to take this on before, and he's stepped away from the community for a while. And in the meantime, we need to move forth. This is an opportunity for others other than just Vinayak to make an impact and create part of the site. And so Vinayak has broken it down into different sections. If you're at all interested, I think the ask here is, just sort of familiarize with the general site structure. It's hopefully self-explanatory, or it becomes much more explanatory when you go over and look at the designs. So go look at the designs, see if there's a section in there that you think you'd like to try your hand at, slap your name into the doc, and there'll be GitHub issues that either you can create, like one GitHub issue per section, or GitHub issues that Vinayak will be creating, and this is a low pressure way of working on your CSS skills if anybody wants to. Right now, like Vinayak was saying, there's a domain that's been registered. It's getnighthawk.dev. And Pratya had put together some original, or had originally put together a couple of designs heavily influenced from stripe.com. Stripe.com is well known for having some pretty hip designs. And so he kind of done that and helped pull it in so we can use it as a starter, and which is good. That's probably all that there is to say. So Vinayak, anything else that people should be paying attention to or look at? Some tasks down here. There's some CI workflow tasks about actually building Nighthawk. This is like the project site is fantastic, and we need to represent the project, and that'll help get Nighthawk into people's hands. And then sort of the other significant chunk of work to the project is it's about GitHub Actions and building Nighthawk. Anything else, Vinayak? Any questions from people? Cool. Cool. Okay. Oh, all right. Are we ready to circle back? I think Ruth is probably charging her battery. So we'll go back up to Dhruv. We still in the same situation? Uh-oh. I think we lost Dhruv as well, which makes some sense. If I were him, I might have rebooted my machine to clear up some of the issues he was seeing. Okay, cool. Well, then that leaves us with, well, Ruth had two topics, and I don't want to steal her thunder, but I'm pretty sure she wants to get these suggestions out. So she has two items that she wanted to bring up. One is that everyone here understands that we participate in a few different open source programs. So Google Season of Docs, Google Summer of Code, the Linux Foundation's LFX, or the Community Bridge. Been in contact with the MLH folks, and Ruth and a couple of others have suggested in the past that we participate in Outreachy and She Code Africa. So Ruth was gonna say, hey, She Code Africa has Anita might be familiar with this particular program. But we're Twitter friends with them. They were tagging us and sort of asking if we want to go participate in being in their program. And Ruth wanted to introduce this. She wanted to brainstorm a couple of ideas about where we might be able to ask for participation. So to describe some of the projects that we might solicit mentees or participants to come over and assist with. So one of those, an example being Get Nighthawk. Also for potential participation from those in the community that would like to mentor. there's details about the program here, and you can get some of the, if you're considering mentoring, there's some descriptions about what's involved. And see Ruth, Anita, how familiar are you with She Code Africa?
Well, yeah, it's a really amazing organization, and yeah, they focused on females in Africa, and then getting them involved into tech and open source as well. And they do a great job when it comes to like getting ladies into tech. I mean, I was one of the persons that actually benefited from their open source training. Yeah, so it's an amazing organization.
Ah, that's oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize that Kalichi is on as well, and so um, Kalichi, I don't know if you've have familiarity here or not.
Yeah, I also got to know about Layer 5 from the community from Shikood Africa during the open source project. So it's a very good community focused on women, just as Manita said. So if we'll be part of um, the community, like contributing to the progress of the women in Africa through the community, like a partnership, it's a very great idea. So I look forward to seeing what we can achieve on that.
This is great. Actually, I mean, just unto its own, on how do you say, at face value, just on the surface of it, makes a ton of sense. Perfect. Yes, like we should participate. But then when you consider that Anita and Kaleche both have learned about Layer 5 through here, like, oh yeah, for sure, we have to do this. I mean, if people like the two of you are going to come in through this program, like that's like cream on the top. So that's so. Anirudh asked a good question about sort of brainstorming over potential projects to highlight. And Anita and Kalecha, you guys might know, or you guys know, you gals know better than I do. My impression, my understanding is that that as a general constituency of participants, like the tech that they are, the technology projects that tend to be focused on here, do they tend to be, or let me not lead the question and just ask, what do those tend to be? Would you expect contributors here to be able to do what tech stacks, or what languages should we suggest?
Um, since the program is like focused on introducing people into open source, I think we should go for like the very common this technologies. Reasons being that a lot of persons might just be getting into tech, so it will be better for them to like hop on anyone if they're familiar with it. Let's say JavaScript or basic HTML, CSS, and any other technology that's like very, very basic that a beginner could just get on with easily.
Yep, makes a ton of sense. Part of that, outside of the technology, part of it is about getting introduced to open source communities in general, getting used to Git and pull requests and commit signing, and and things like tutorials that Michael had put together about how to what is Jekyll and how do I install it, and how do I, yeah. And so Anirudh, I think that therein probably lies the answer to your suggestion. So very good, very good, very good. Okay, so guess what, Vinayak? You have inadvertently positioned yourself as a potential mentor. that'll be good. It'll be nice. As well as so the other thing that Ruth was going to ask for here is if people are interested in mentoring, please raise your hand. Please hit up Kaleche, Anita, Ruth. They'll give you a little bit of a better description about what that potentially involves. And for my part, just sort of being ignorant of the specifics, I would say with extremely high confidence that it's about the same thing that we already always do, that most of you already always do, which is there are issues out there and kind of a description of various pieces of work. Sometimes they're super small. Sometimes it's more like, well, like a Get Nighthawk project, and where it starts to get broken down. It's a bigger thing, but it gets broken down into to more bite-sized goal, tasks. And it's about, answering questions and spending some time getting to know a couple of folks, learning as you teach them, growing with them. Yeah, it's really clearly core to what we do here. I would be shoving my hand in the air pretty quick if it weren't for the fact that my plate overspills, that I like, but that shouldn't stop us, nor should it stop us from participating in outreachy. Like there's a lot of you that are here, and I very much so mean it when I say that you will learn a lot through teaching others, through helping others. It's the right thing to do. It comes back in spades. Last time we met on Wednesday, Sako was on the call. I haven't, Sako, most of you don't know, I haven't talked to him in a long time. He was our first Google Summer of Code intern. And guess what? He just landed a new logo on the Meshery.io site. So if you look at who's, people who've publicly adopted Meshery, there's a new one, Metabob. Thank you, Sako. Turns out a little bit of paying it forward. This isn't the only place where it pays off, but just as a relevant and recent example. Cool. The other, so Outreachy and SheCode Africa, but for sure, I think we want to go do SheCode Africa right, so to speak. So the second thing that Ruth wanted to call out, I had a thought a little while ago. She'd suggested that, hey, perhaps there be a community handbook. I think Ruth was sort of brainstorming this out loud a little bit. It was an acknowledgement that we've created, a welcome guide. We've created a newcomer's guide. We've also created a first-timers guide, and then we have community member profiles, and we have some conventions, things like turning on your webcams on meetings, and various things that we do. That, my goodness, maybe that should be kind of collected into, it should be put together as a collection of things. A lot of that info is in Google Docs. That's fine, but it could also be extracted and a bit more organized onto the Layer5 community section, community site. And so she wanted to make a call out for feedback on her thinking around this topic. And I think she sort of put together a few draft ideas. So give this some thought, especially if you've been invested in Layer5 NG and what's all there, and sort of the site structure and how it works, and et cetera. This handbook stands to be, its own component, or a component that pulls together, everything that's under the community section. So please give this some thought, give Ruth some feedback. I think she's gung-ho to, I think initially she was considering that maybe she would take something like Gitbook and put together a handbook there. That's a good idea. An even better idea is to pile on top of the investment that we have in on the community in the community pages on Layer 5 NG, and I think she agrees. And so think about that, please. Please add some comments, some support her as she thinks through this. And it's I keep saying she and Ruth, but I expect pretty quickly it's not just Ruth that we're talking about. That there's a number of the rest of you that are here to. Okay. What else? Anybody have any comments on this stuff that we just talked about?
Oh, well, Lee, I don't have a comment on this, but apparently Twitter seems to be down for some regions in India. That's why remote persistence wouldn't be able to, I won't be able to demo it because of that. Seems like my internet provider is against me today.
Got you. Okay. Is it only, and you need to sign into Twitter to be able to show the prior tests that you've run, because that's the account that you've.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And in dev server, we only have Twitter dev login.
All right. Yeah. Is that okay? I'll follow up with you after the. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay. All right. Not just so we're on record. In this particular case, this wasn't Drew's fault. In the other cases, it was his fault, but this particular one, it's not his fault.
Yes. I was ready half an hour ago. I did 2 tests like this and still.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Like I did log in and log out half an hour before the meeting was on just to check whether the data was there or not. And Twitter has given up on me.
Yeah. Whose law is that? Somebody's law. If it can go wrong, it'll go wrong. What's the? Forget. Couple things that I want to talk about. One is Kishore. Yeah, Kishore's still on. Good. I know Kishore, I was calling you out earlier just because I am excited that you're back. I think you'd done some great work on Layer 5 NG. As a matter of fact, others, we've made use of your workshops grid system or card system, I think in another area. And so we should talk about learn.layer5.io. Some interesting things to do there. Let's not talk about that now. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about next week. Anybody familiar with Kyverno? Some of us are, including myself, just by being able to say, yes, I've heard that name before. But and then that's about as far as it goes. So if you are familiar with or have heard of OPA, Open Policy Agent, openpolicyagent.org. Oh, service mesh. Ooh, sexy. These two are pretty similar projects, similar in capability, similar in vision and what they're trying to accomplish. They're both policy engines. They're both sort of cloud native policy engines. They're both sort of Kubernetes focused policy engines. And you can imagine, like, when you're running Kubernetes and workloads and applications, and you've got teams and teams of people, who's authorized to do what in the software, in the system, it gets pretty important and it gets pretty granular. And it's really like you can use a policy engine as a generic capability to do evaluations of what? Of anything. You know, like you can ask a generic policy engine all kinds of questions. Is it Friday at 10:46 a.m. in Norway? No. Is it that time in the US? Yes. Anyway, point is, they took a policy engine and they took a DSL, a domain-specific language, Rego, which is not a new language, And they've applied it to, they've created a policy engine, they, OPA, this project. And the use cases that they've focused on are around, not around figuring out what time it is in a given time zone, but around figuring out authorization, all around authorization questions, authorization evaluation questions. Now, you can still use OPA to evaluate other things other than just auth-z, well, authorization question policies. But because their focus is so much on authorization, like it's a lot easier to sort of use it for those things. Why are we talking about this? Because, well, as people go to get more serious about the use of Meshery and it becomes more and more capable, more and more stable, and more people go to learn about it, that they too will want to have different users performing different actions in Meshery. Meshery will ultimately need an authorization system for who can do what within Meshery. That's one thing that Meshery will need a policy engine for. Meshery will also need a policy engine for things like evaluating whether or not your service mesh is running in accordance with best practices, or whether or not a pattern or a desired behavior that you've intended for your, like whether or not your service mesh is behaving in a way in which you intend for it to, and to do evaluations continuously. Some of those are, security centric, authorization type stuff. Some of those are things like, oh, hey, is it time to enforce a rate limit based on how much traffic is being, hit on this endpoint? You can ask the policy engine. It can consider, the policy engine could consider a few different data sources and do a quick evaluation and hand back a yes or a no. Maybe it's not just rate limiting. Maybe it's, is it time to break this circuit? Like disconnect the network. Don't allow any more traffic. Policy engines are for that. So Kyverno is, a competitive, or it falls in the same category of projects. It is just landed into the CNCF sandbox this last month. It's focused towards similar use cases, although I'm, pardon my language, but I'm bastardizing the description of its capabilities because I don't know. I don't know how it differs from OPA, even though I've talked to them and asked them that question before, I forgot. Hey, look at this. They're using Doxy as well. I wonder if they're using Hugo or Jekyll, and Anirudh, if they're using Jekyll, I wonder if they've addressed versioning. It doesn't look like it. So the founder of this project will be presenting to us because, hey, we need a policy engine. We should probably put some thought toward evaluating. Should we use Kyverno? Should we use OPA? Should we build a framework that works for either one? What are some of those use cases? I articulated a couple of use cases just now about things that we might want to evaluate. There's a number of more things that we should make sure that Meshery is capable of evaluating. The founder or the maintainers behind Kyverno is from a company called Nirmata. They make basically a cloud management platform, I think is how they would categorize themselves. I guess this isn't random. Like, hey, I've been focused in this for my part. I've been focused in this space for a long time. The founders of this company are good friends of mine. I end up in this particular case, they're not friends because we've done work together in the cloud native community. They're friends because the founders used to, sell my product at Cisco. So I led a team of a little over 100 people to build Cisco's cloud management platform a while ago. And he was in a services team that would engage with customers to deliver that software. And so anyway, his name's Jim. And he's had Nirmata for some number of years. They've been focused, kind of on cloud management platforms. and not kind of, like they have been, and they've been making it more cloud native. And so they've figured out that they'll create Caverna. We should come. We're going to have him come and present it to us. As we do, is Vishal on? We should anyone who wants to, who's interested in, should help take notes, do an analysis, help us figure out like which of these two policy engines do we think is the thing we should use, and how do we not hurt people's feelings when we don't use the other one. Related to this is the fact that Meshry needs a workflow engine. If you think of Argo CD as a pipeline tool only, you'd be missing the broader picture of it being something of a generic workflow engine. There's other workflow engines that are cloud native in nature, not as advanced. There's also Flux. Flux is being merged, I believe, into Argo CD, if I recall correctly. There's also another two, one from Uber called Cadence, and one as a fork of Cadence called Temporal. And if you twisted my arm behind my back and said, pick one right now, I would say Temporal. Which workflow engine? This one. And that's why this one's hyperlinked, or that's not why it's hyperlinked, but and why is that, Lee? Oh, it just feels good. There's a bunch of reasons why that we need to articulate in here and go through some diligence of figuring out how do we, which one, there's a bunch of, anyway, we need to do an analysis. And so I figured I'd introduce this topic because it might be of interest to any of you, and you're all welcome to participate in this. And please do. But also I mention it because we were out of agenda items today, and hopefully we'll have Jim here next week presenting Caverna. Does anyone have other topics for next week, or would anyone suggest that we get a demo of things like Opal?
I just changed my provider from my Wi-Fi to my mobile data, and it has Twitter running. So maybe I can give a short demo now.
Sure. On the last topic, just fill in the meeting minutes if you've got suggestions.
So yes. Ta-da, that's all, I guess. This is the magic. And if you want, I can run a test too. So like you can see if in 5 minutes it is getting over there or not. It will, but still.
What questions do you guys have for Drew? Who's comfortable with what's actually happening here?
So like to explain to you guys, I didn't explain it properly. What is happening right now is before this, before the feature I added, the data was stored locally it was not stored in the Meshry cloud basically. So I added a functionality in which now if you run a SMI test, it will store it in a Meshry cloud, and whenever you log in again, you will be able to retrieve the previous tests which you have made. And if they give us access, we will be also able to see the changes. Yeah, nutshell, that's it.
I have a question. Is this just for in your personal account, or is it a shared, so that everybody can sort of look at others' results?
It's for one account itself. Like if I log into my account, I can only see my results. I can't see anybody else's results.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
And then, Dhruv, do you want to tell the whole story? Because part of the answer there is yes, right?
I didn't get what you're saying.
Yeah. This piece of functionality about being able to persist and recall conformance test results is for individual users. As an individual user, you sign in and you can store and retrieve your results. Okay, yes, good, and that's a great step, and hopefully we can. That's great, but also specific. Well, for both the performance tests and for these conformance tests, the performance tests, you can go to Meshery.io or S&P spec.io and you can see the total number of tests that have been run, which by the way, I'll tell you guys, most of you are contributors on the call, so I'll speak to you in this way and say, you've got a fan out there. Like this last month, there's a significant user of the performance test capability. They ran like 1,000 tests. And near as I can tell, they ran them manually. And so somebody likes your work. So to what Michael had asked, the reason that we're keeping a counter and the reason that we're engaged with universities is that we want to analyze these results and help inform the world about how to characterize the performance of a mesh. Well, in a related fashion, for SMI conformance results, Dhruv, maybe you know where I'm going now?
Yeah, I know where you're going. It is not implemented yet, but we can do that definitely. Have a number of how many tests people have run. That's a good idea. Yeah.
But also more, but also more specifically on the service mesh landscape on the SMI table. What Dhruv and what all of you here who are working on adapters or working on Meshery are supporting is the fact that Meshery it's not prominent yet, but it is the official conformance tool for whether or not a service mesh adheres to SMI specifications. And somewhere there needs to be a report like, hey, how are they doing? Which ones conform and which ones don't? And this is a static version of that report based on the fact that now Dhruv will be landing that capability. This site too can pull down, can grab the actual stats from the actual tests. In this particular case, the stats that it will retrieve, it will not be like if I run a conformance test on Meshery here, my anonymous statistics, the results from my test will not anonymously be reflected here. There will be 8, well, right here, if there's 5 service meshes participating, there will be 5, man, I couldn't even, there will be 5 named accounts, one from each service mesh that they will designate. They will run the service mesh project teams. They will be responsible for running the tests and officiating their results so that they don't feel like somebody else is misrepresenting what they're doing, so that they can run it as frequently as possible, so they can be engaged and help define what those tests are. So Michael is like, there's a kind of a yes to the second half of your.
Semi-yes.
And then Dhruv, just to wrap us up and you'll end the call for us. Do you want to talk about the test set version number there and the SMI version numbers? Like, which I don't entirely see the SMI version number. I see a V1 alpha one, but what?
So yeah, the V1 alpha 1 are the version number of the individual pixel. Like the traffic access has its own version number, the traffic split has its own version number, and combined they have a particular version of the spec itself, the whole spec itself, like which is currently 0.6.0. And the test set number which we have over here is basically the version number of the learn layer 5 repo where we are storing all the tests which we are running. So if you want to see which particular tests have been run in your mesh, you can go ahead and take a look at 0.4.9 version of the Learn Layer5 repo, where all the tests are being stored, and see, okay, yeah, this is where my tests were going wrong. I need to improve on this.
Couple of food for thought, a couple of suggestions, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I'll play the role of an ignorant user, which won't be hard, which is, wait a second, I missed, what SMI version is this testing against again? I think you said V06, but it ain't on here. Could you please add that? It's a rhetorical question,
Oh, okay.
if you would. The, wait.
Okay, so that's where the table can improve, I guess. That's
The other one is, okay, test set V04. Hold on, hold your horses. I'm sorry, the Istio is passing at 50%. So, but like specifically what's failing? Or like for a user, with some users, most of the world, when they see this, they won't care. Some certain small percentage of the world, when they see this, they will peruse it and just want to like lazily look at some of the details. And then 400 people in the entire world will actually seriously, earnestly, and very much so care about the actual, whatever that number is, anyway, that they're going to really want to get into the depth. So while we don't have to represent all that and make this complex, and like the point is, here's your compatibility, but if they do want to understand some of the details, when you click on find out, like if they want to get into details, right now, if I'm a user, I'm like, okay, I guess I'll click find out. Would you mind clicking that for me?
sure. It will basically tell you to run your own test in Mesh.
Yeah, nice. And it explains a little further. And so, yep, here's a rhetorical. So where I'm headed is like, hey, where can I find these test details? Like, is this whether it's just the static descriptors of what the tests are, or even better would be like, hey, can I double click on that row and like get in, like really seriously dig into the table and really see specifically what's failing, what's passing? That's one thing, but something that's just easier and it's just static info is the tests that we have written. Can we show that list? What you said it was V04.9. So what was V04.0? What's changed? Like that would be, anyway, all that stuff we should build on this and
Mm-hmm. Um, what we could do is, uh, let's see. See, the changes would anyway be reflected in the PRs which you made in the in the versions itself. Maybe we can link them to the site itself if you want to do something like that to tell them what has changed. But pointing like redirecting them over there would make more sense.
I will complete his
You want to
sentence.
show that in particular?
Cool. Yeah.
What?
You know what? You cut out for a minute. Ideally, I don't know what you said, but if you were going to say redirect them to GitHub, ideally we wouldn't. Ideally, we just have a static set of tests that are listed, and just starting there is enough. Like, hey, here's the latest set of what those tests are. That's an
So
improvement.
now, do we want to statically change them, or do we want it to like get it info from GitHub and stuff like that?
Yeah, if we can format them, if they're in YAML, which they are, yeah, if we can retrieve them and just sort of format that on the site, yeah, that'd be nice, because nobody wants to maintain that table.
Yeah. Okay, we can definitely do that. If we are going to do that, then maybe we can shift the whole thing to the get a separate SMI page itself. If it's going to be more crowded.
Yeah, well, or that section, like this is awesome. This is just the landscape. This is the overview. But then when they want to like double click, proverbially, they would go here. You would.
Okay,
Awesome.
I get what you're saying. Yep.
Anybody else have any comments on this? Cool. We're 7 minutes after, so I apologize.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's. I guess I will apologize because the Twitter thing.
Nice. Thanks for showing this, Drew. This is exciting. Plus, people get to look at the new version of the site, which is really exciting.
Yeah, I deliberately showed that because it's better to show. It's better to show that, I guess. I like it more.
Okay. Well, that's a wrap for this week. See everybody next week. Thanks all for coming.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Well,
Bye,
thanks.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, people.
Bye everyone.
Bye.